We need him at stat. Suspect down. We need help.
Body cam video captures the chaos outside a local sheriff's office, where a deputy was just shot by a man in custody.
Nick, someone didn't search him.
Hey guys, welcome back to Surviving the Badge Bar. The Surviving Badge, two cops
Cheers.
in a bar. We're gonna try that as a tagline. So today we're gonna talk about some officer safety. It is Surviving the Badge, and we want you guys to survive the badge.
Absolutely.
All right, so I was doing some research on episodes as we do weekly or every other week, and I came across this article, this recording, and it goes back to 2022, and an officer, Cody Cash, was killed outside the sheriff's office. And what happened was they arrested this scumbag, and they brought him into the interrogation room, cuffed him, arrested him, brought him into the interrogation room, and they're interviewing him, and he says, "Hey, can I get a smoke?" And we've all been there. Absolutely. And it's funny because I talk to my students, and I'm like, I never smoked a day in my life, but I had a pack of cigarettes in my car.
Marlboro Reds.
And I had a pack of cigarettes in my desk.
Marlboro Reds.
Yep. So if you want to talk, you want to smoke, okay. We've all done it.
But nowadays we'd have to go outside, but you know, whatever.
I let them smoke in the interrogation room, I mean, you know,
well,
whatever, in
you
my
wouldn't
car.
nowadays.
Yeah,
but,
no, not now. Now, if they were a flight risk, I'd still let them smoke in the PD. I don't care.
yeah.
What's the important thing, right?
Yeah, put a fan on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So they go out and they have a smoke.
Chief Deputy Jody Cash in the green, Marshall County Deputy Donald Bowman in the white. Remember, these two are federal DEA task force. They're not in typical police uniform because their goal is to blend in, not stand out. They did have bulletproof vests on earlier, but they took them off once Roland was in custody.
And he says, yeah, he'll talk to us, but he really wants a cigarette and he wants to call his girl. I'm like, well, let's talk a little bit and, we'll see what we can do.
And they allow him to go outside and smoke that cigarette. Notice Roland's sweatpants as he leaves the room. This is about to come into play. Bowman talks about it in his interview with KSP investigators.
Looking back on it, he spends a lot of time bent over, putting the smoke out, and I think he was moving the pistol up to where he could get it, where he could get hold of it.
They go back, and a little bit later into the interrogation, they take another smoke break. And during the second smoke break, this scumbag pulls out a handgun and shoots and kills the officer and injures the other officer.
Man.
When they come back, Roland's pant leg is now pulled up below the knee.
We talk a little bit more. Again, he says, man, hey, I could really use another smoke. I'll continue cooperating with you guys. I'll continue talking to you.
Cash grabs one last cigarette for Roland. All three leave the room. This time, they do not come back. Keep in mind, what happens next all played out in front of the Marshall County Sheriff's Office, just feet from the entrance. The surveillance cameras here should have captured everything, but they didn't work. They did give us a copy of this. Camera footage from a business across the street, 664 feet away. The image is blurry. There's no sound, and vehicles are darting in and out of frame. This is the only video that gives a glimpse into what happened here. This is when the video gets graphic. We've decided to blur this part out. Right here, Jody Cash goes down. Bowman starts running, and there's Roland close behind.
I'm pretty sure he popped another round at me.
Investigators say right here, Roland points the gun at Bowman.
I trip over the sidewalk there. I get back up. I start engaging him. That time I kind of see Little out on my left side.
The video shows Roland falling in the parking lot near the curb as deputies are firing shots at him. Roland stands back up and continues to flee.
Roland's not complying.
Roland falls again, this time in the grass. Not far behind is Benton Police Officer Keegan Cole. His body camera takes us in even closer.
Nick, someone didn't search him. It was in his waistband.
Next to Roland on the ground, this 9mm pistol. The weapon investigators say he used to kill Jody Capp.
And then the other officer and some other end up killing this scumbag. So we want to give you guys some pointers of how we survived the badge, and hopefully how you guys can survive the badge.
So before we get into meat and potatoes, let's talk about our sponsor real quick. Is that cool?
Yes.
All right. So, each week we talk about our sponsor. We talk about a beer moment. We try to go through a new beer or whiskey or whatever. Tonight, it is... You got it?
I do. LT couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. So
here it is.
I think Google is going to pronounce it for us if this works okay.
Put it right up to it.
Anger.
Yeah, like she said, Anger. It's a Oktoberfest Marzen, and that's the bottle there. And it evidently has been in operation since 1878 at the Bavarian Alps. So I got to tell you, man.
That's a great beer.
It is smoother than a Samuel Adams Oktoberfest.
That's a great Oktoberfest beer,
and it
man.
is, but this is even better.
Yeah.
I tell you what, for a beer like this, I'm going to give this an 8.25.
Yeah.
I really freaking like it.
I don't believe that there is a perfect beer.
No.
But this is definitely 9.2.
Holy.
Yeah, this is a good beer.
That's his highest rating
probably.
in
This is a great
years.
beer.
All this is brought to you by our sponsors. Here's a word from them.
Contact Mainstreet Realty for all your real estate needs. This power team includes Tom Clem, a veteran Marine and retired law enforcement professional.
Thank you, sponsors. We really appreciate it, everything. And we have a new partner to the show, came on last month, and it is Warrior and Me Charity. They are a group of folks, both of them were law enforcement officers, and what they do is they help out folks that are going through cancer and cancer treatments and all, and they take them on little adventures. And it is an amazing organization. They're both very close personal friends of the show, mine and Camille's both. And we have a link down below if you'd like to donate to their cause. Their straight link is on there, but also a pay link where you can donate. And 50% of every penny that we get donated by that pay link goes to Warrior and Me Charity. The rest goes to buying show supplies like computer supplies, of course, beer and whiskey for the show. But we really appreciate their partnership. Thanks. All right, go.
All right, so back to the case. So we obviously know what happened when
Somebody didn't search him.
Somebody didn't. They probably just patted him down, and half-assed. And I don't want to shit on other officers, but they obviously did not conduct a proper search, and
that aggravates me to no end, man.
My first cop job, because we're talking about cop shit here, my very first cop job was driving a paddy wagon, and everybody that I came in contact with went into the jail. So I had to search the shit out of people. Even when an officer brought the arrestee to me, I did my own search also.
You're responsible, man. If you got to.
Right. And I've said this for years, and the phrase is, you got to check that junk.
You do.
You got to check that junk.
Package check, man.
You have got to forget about your pride, your shyness, whatever, and you got to grab that junk, because people, scumbags, murderers, bad people know that there's
cops don't like searching there.
Yeah, you put a set of gloves on, you got to check. You got to check that junk, and you're right. People, they know that cops don't want to check there. I don't want to grab somebody's junk.
I saw a guy one time have a knife this freaking long stuck in the crack of his taint,
right
between his nutsack and his buttocks, and it was right there, man. All he had to do was get his hands around front, which is very easy for somebody that's a little limber, and reach down his pants, and now he had a freaking 6-inch blade, which will kill you stone freaking dead in a heartbeat. You know,
this guy in this case.
Imagine what they could do with a little freaking 22 Derringer or something. I mean, goddamn, you could hide 2 of them in there.
And the thing is, in this, in this instance, because this happened at the Marshall County Sheriff's Office in Kentucky, it was a full-size gun. This guy had a full 9mm handgun. It wasn't a stubby, wasn't a short barrel. It was a regular size 9mm handgun, and he had sweatpants.
Really?
Yeah, and he had a large knife too.
Wow.
So somebody really screwed up on this search, big time. That cost the life of this deputy.
And not making fun of heavy people. God knows I'm not in shape. Not in shape. I should be. And
you're in a lot
Camille.
better shape than you used to be, bro.
Well, that's true, but still,
I'm in shape. Round is a shape.
round is a shape. But you get somebody that is 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And they have a large stomach or fat roll, dude, they could hide a full-size 38 9mm or whatever in that fat roll, and you would never find it unless you invade their freaking privacy while you're doing the search, which you should be, and pull that fat roll up and check underneath it. I'm sorry, I know it sounds gross, but it could be the matter between life and death. It really could be.
I tell my students, I tell anybody, law enforcement is not pretty work. It's great, rewarding, but it is some of the grossest stuff you will ever do in your entire life.
I'd rather search somebody that stinks like hell than freaking go to a funeral for my colleague because I didn't.
I used to, when I drove the paddy wagon, some people smelled so bad that I had to drive with my head out the window. But you still got to search them. You got to put to double glove, whatever. You got to, and then you just pour alcohol on your hands, and you just got to power through it.
You got gloves on, but I'd still pour alcohol.
Some people were just.
And now they sell them in the big tubs with a big squirt on them. You just put it in your damn police car, whatever. But.
So there was a lawsuit by the family of this murdered police officer, which obviously, and during the investigation, they found out that this guy had made comments like, "I'm not going to go back to jail. I'm going to go down in a shooting. I'm going out fighting." What did they expect?
What do we call that in law enforcement?
That's a clue.
That's a clue.
Yeah. I had one guy that when I was working an officer involved shooting, and this guy, everybody said he's gonna go out in a blaze of glory, and he did. He shot at the cops. They shot at him, and I was at his autopsy. Thank God I wasn't at the cop's autopsy.
Yeah,
I was the scumbag's autopsy, and on his back he had a tattoo of a guy on a motorcycle shooting at cops.
Wow,
that was a full back tattoo. Yeah. So
I've heard the biker gangs, have some crazy ass tattoos about, the cops and about blaze of glory and rounds in a gun and all that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's freaking crazy.
There are people out there that will shoot and murder cops, obviously. And
here's another thing that I always tell these new officers, because I get a lot of them that I run into, and I run into a lot of them at the gym that I go to, and you can always tell them, they don't want to announce that they're a cop, but they announce that they're a cop. And I'm like, hey,
you can see them a mile away.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, law enforcement, yeah. But usually it's the ones I know, and they're friends of my kids, that are now in law enforcement, and I tell them the number one freaking thing is watch their hands. Other than a vehicle. And somebody like freaking Bruce Lee that could kick you and snap your neck, nothing can hurt you except for their hands. So don't get freaking pigeonholed into looking at something else where the bad guy's standing here and they got their hands in their pockets. They are. How many times did you tell somebody on the side of the road, I know you were only on patrol for 2 seconds, but even when you were, whatever, before you completely searched them and knew they were completely clean, how many times did you tell somebody to get their hands out of their pockets?
You know what? I used to do it all the time. And then I had a veteran cop says, why don't you just search his pockets? Say, you know what? You want to keep your hands in your pockets? Let me pat you down. Make sure you don't have anything in there. Then you can keep your hands in your pockets all day long. But you're right. Get your hands in your pocket. Get your hands in your pockets. And then veteran said, hey, why don't you just pat him down? Make sure he's
I went
fine.
to a call one time and said the exact same thing. The officer kept telling the guy, and I was proud of her. It was actually her. kept telling him, get your hand out of your pocket, hand out of your pocket, hand out of your pocket. And I was standing there and I said, since it's cold out here and we're all freezing,
Right?
and you want to put your damn hands in your pockets, why don't you just let us pat your pockets down and make sure there's nothing in there, and then you can keep your damn hands in your pockets.
I'd rather you
And
have
they're
your
like,
hands in your pockets.
Please do. And I'm like, there you go. So I told this officer, I said, isn't that easier than sitting there every 5 or 10 or 15 seconds telling the guy to get his hands out of his pocket? You're like, oh my God, yeah, I never
And
even
they
thought
will
of
never
that.
forget that.
And they never forgot that. Every time I go on a call with them, the guy would put his hands in his pockets the first time, and they'd say, get your hands out of your pockets. If you let me search your pockets, make sure there's nothing. And I was like, there you go.
Yep.
You've just eliminated that issue that you ain't got to worry about now.
And you've increased the reactionary gap as well.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if somebody snatches their hands out of their pockets real quick, like they're going to run, I can see that a lot faster than them freaking just turn around and run.
Right, and rabbiting. Yeah.
How many people you know run with their hands in their pockets? I mean, nobody. How many people you know run in handcuffs? Not a whole lot,
Not
but there
many.
are a few. They don't run far and they get caught.
So I was reading into the lawsuit, and they during this investigation they found that one of the officers did a just like a sweep.
Yeah.
Checked his stomach, not much. They actually found a keychain around his necklace, but they did not find a gun. And it ended up with this officer dying. So I wanted to research and find some more.
So did they? I mean, he shot him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he must have had it stuck in his pants or something. He had to.
He had it like, yeah. And I'm going to show the video because there are videos of the interrogation. Outside of the sheriff's office, the video wasn't working, so you don't see much. You don't hardly see anything.
Right.
But in the investigation, you can wear. He's got like slicky sweatpants, and there's a freaking full-size 9mm gun that he has and a knife.
Holy
Yeah.
shit! Easy to find.
Yeah. So
was he huge?
He was
Just
athletic.
regular size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, man.
So I wanted to look at some other instances, and we had talked about this case before, but in 2020 there was an incident in Chicago. They arrested this guy for carjacking, and as they're arresting him, he's like, "Oh, I have a bad back. I have a bad back," and they put him in
I've
cuffs.
heard that.
And by the time they get to the station. And I don't remember if somebody else put his hands in front, but he's got his hands in front and he's got a gun in his hand. And the officer opens the door and the guy shoots and hits the officer in the neck. Thank God he lives.
Glancing blow or whatever.
Yeah, but the officer goes down and they end up killing him.
July 30th, 2020, Chicago police officers arrested 25-year-old Lavelle Jordan. He was apparently arrested in connection with a carjacking downtown. After patting Jordan down, police found he was carrying drugs in his pocket, but they did not see that he was carrying a small loaded pistol. Police then drove him to the 25th District Station on the city's northwest side. When an officer went to open the door at the police station, that's when Jordan started shooting.
But
Man,
it could have
holy
been
shit.
it could have been terrible. We've all seen this, and if you guys have been in law enforcement or anything on video for a while, you remember the guy who shot himself in the interrogation room with a full-size .45 1911. So if you don't know, the video has detectives walking this individual into the interrogation room, and they give him a water. And they walk out to get ready for the interrogation. As soon as they walk out, this guy reaches into his crotch, pulls out a full 1911 45, and blows his brains
Offs
out.
himself.
Yeah, offs himself.
And here's the thing, too. I never left a suspect in an interrogation room by themselves.
Yeah.
I always had somebody stand by in there while I went and got the info I needed or teletype or whatever it was I needed. I always had somebody left the door open, somebody standing at the door, uniform, whoever it was, somebody standing there watching this individual.
And what's bad also is a lot of times we did this in our agencies when we were interrogating somebody. We checked our gun in our desk.
Absolutely.
So-
we were not allowed in an interrogation room with a weapon.
Right.
We were not
so
allowed.
that guy has a weapon, but we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just one more reason to search
Yeah.
the shit out of
And,
them.
and the thing is, the detectives have a a dog in this fight too. If I hand you a gun, if I say, hey, LT, this gun is safe,
Right.
what are you going to do with that?
I'm going to check that damn gun.
Right.
9 ways to Sunday.
That's how detectives need to be more often with suspects.
Absolutely.
Do not trust SWAT. Do not trust anybody.
If
that
somebody
they did
handed me a
full-
prisoner and said, okay, he's been searched, throw him in your car, I need you to transport him to such and such. Okay, no problem. Lean over there, spread your legs, you're getting searched again. Nobody ever went into my freaking car. And here's another thought I just thought of. For you agencies that have these separated cages where you can open a window in the cage to get some air back to them, or whatever you want to listen to your stereo, whatever.
I remember one of those when I was on 5 minutes on the road. Yeah.
Make sure that damn cage window or door or whatever it is locked.
Yep.
I don't know how many cases where the guy or the girl has got their hands in front of them, crawled through that freaking window and stole the cop car while the cop's out trying to work the rest of the crash or whatever it is.
I want Edgewater to start helping with the traffic. Shutting traffic down on 95. We got it. That's where we can get with all agencies and have them shut their on-ramps off, please. Copy. Hey, Mike, I thought I saw smoke as he was coming around that corner, so it shouldn't last too much longer. 10, go. Guys, give me your speed. We're about 105, 110, trying to catch up. They're still a little ways away.
Please make sure that freaking door or that glass or whatever it is slid and locked, closed.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just one more thing I thought of, because a deputy friend of mine, it happened to freaking them, man.
Everybody's responsible, from the arresting officer to the detective,
Yes.
to make sure that guy does not have
Guy or gal.
doesn't have any firearm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the last case I'm going to talk about was a recent case back in March. This guy gets arrested for a domestic violence warrant. They pick him up. They search him. They bring him into the into the jail. And instead of putting him in the metal detector, they decide that they're going to do a strip search. During the strip search, this guy pulls a gun out and caps himself in the jail.
According to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, 22-year-old Brandon Jennings was arrested by the Omaha Police Department for a robbery and domestic violence assault Sunday evening. He was brought to the Douglas County Jail where he was uncooperative, and then a strip search revealed that he had a small caliber handgun on him. Initially threatening staff with the gun, Jennings shot himself in the head.
So that was a failure, 2 or 3 time failure.
Yeah. Well, the jail hadn't really had a chance.
Gotcha.
To,
So at least a one-time failure.
Right.
Yeah.
But how many people could he have killed right there?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Depending on how many rounds he had in the gun and how good a shot he was.
So right inside the jail,
Holy cow.
he kills himself.
I got a
It's
call
just-
one time as a supervisor, and they said, you need to come up here. And I'm like, what's going on? They said, we just found a weapon. It was a knife, but we found a weapon on one of your prisoners that y'all just brought in here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, son of a... And I had to write the officer up. I'm like, dude, you know better. And it was in their freaking front pocket, man.
Right.
They had really deep pockets, and it was in their front pocket, and it was a freaking knife about that long. And no, they weren't going to hurt anybody with it. That wasn't their intent.
Right.
But they could have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to write you up, man. And they're like, yeah, I know. It's my bad. I mean, what else can you say? It's your bad. Of course it's your bad.
Yep. We want you guys to survive the badge like we did. Last thoughts?
Last thoughts. I made it 35 years without missing a gun or a weapon that I'm aware of. Never got wrote up for that or told that I missed one. That's a long damn time, and a lot of prisoners and a lot of transports and a lot of everything else. It's because I was super, super, super cautious, careful. I made sure my people, when I became a supervisor, were super cautious. I mean, we covered this probably every 4th or 5th briefing. About every time a story would come up on the news, I'd cover it in briefing. Cover it in briefing.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure you're searching your people's shit. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, now obviously if it's female and you're a male officer, you got to call a female to do it.
Right.
And we would wait 15 minutes for an agency to send a female to search them.
Yeah.
We all had to do it.
Yep.
So, just take the time and do it right. That's my only thoughts.
And I'm going to jump on what you just said. Take that time. Don't let anybody rush you.
Nope.
As soon as you have the cuffs on them, You secure them, slow down, take a breath, and say, you know what? Let me do this right. Let me do this thorough. Because how shitty are you going to feel if you've transferred this person to somebody else and they injure them
And they
or
killed
kill them, or that's just going
And
to
one last thought, don't search anybody until they're handcuffed.
Yeah.
People say, oh, well, it's just a consensual contact and I just patted them down. Okay, well, that's fine. If you're going to do that, then make sure there's another officer there with you before you put yourself in that vulnerable position of bending down and checking their ankles and their boots and all, and you're bent over. Make sure you have a backup there. Any other situation, they need to be handcuffed before they are searched.
Yep.
It limits their mobility and their chances to hurt you.
And I always talk about what I tell my students, but I tell my students, you can cuff somebody to do a pat down for safety. It's you explain, listen, you're not under arrest. I'm just securing you. I'm detaining you, and for my safety.
Minding your safety.
Yep, mind your safety. I'm just going to make sure you're safe. You don't have any weapons, and then I'll take the cuffs off.
Yep.
No
and
problem
there's
with that at
ways
all.
to do pat downs. There's way to do searches. Become comfortable with it. Do a grid pattern. Start and go all the way up and down. Cut the body in half. Go from top all the way to the damn feet on the right side. Switch to the left. Go from the feet all the way up to the neck, and then check the middle again a second time all the way around. Just do it.
Yep.
Don't become complacent and freaking lazy, or it'll kill you.
Yeah.
Just do it.
All right, guys, we want you to survive the badge like we survived the badge. And always remember, at Surviving the Badge, where you have 2 cops in a bar,
we still got your 6. Always. Salute. Be careful out there.